Good evening, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay, good. So tonight we're going to talk about magnetism. But I wanted to mention how interested it is, the knowledge from people from the old days. When the book The Secret came about, you guys know the book The Secret, right? Mm-hmm. Is from the knowledge of the 1700 and the 1600 and the 1500 and even before that, that for some reason it got lost. So it's a lot of wisdom from them that we have no idea what happened and why we don't hear and why we don't practice those knowledge anymore. And magnetism is one of these knowledges, is one of these things that it got disappeared. Not a lot of people know about it. Most of people don't know about it. Kardec talks a lot about magnetism in all his books. And when we first read that word magnetism, we had no idea what it was. And then we had to do a research, and I personally did a research to try to find out what this was. And it was amazing what we discovered, what magnetism really is, and how popular it was back then, and especially we're going to see a little bit of history, especially in France. It was in Europe. It was really popular. So let's go through that to that knowledge. So if you don't know magnetism, if you don't know what it is, so at least you will have a knowledge, and then you can go ahead. There's more than 120 books on the subject in English that you guys can read about it. And you go to Google Books, for an example, and Google does this wonderful job that is to scan old books, and they leave it over there for free. So a lot of the books on magnetism is on the internet today for free. So you can actually read, and you can actually, if you like to research, this is a great thing to find out. So animal magnetism, this is how you guys should do the research. Animal magnetism was the name given by the German doctor Franz Mesmer in the 18th century to what he believed to be an invisible natural force. So if you go before Mesmer, and we're talking about the 18th century, but the Egyptians also used the hands to heal people. So what Mesmer believed is that he found out that there was an invisible electricity, let's put it this way, he called fluid, that it's inside of our body. And this fluid, it's what actually gives us life. We are life because of this fluid. Allan Kardec talks about that also. Just to let you know, Allan Kardec was a magnetizer. He worked with magnetism for 30 years, okay, before he knew Spiritism. Okay, so he was very familiar with this science, with animal magnetism. And Mesmer developed his whole life trying to prove that this fluid existed. And if anybody who got sick, the first problem that occurs is a problem on a fluid that sometimes it get congested in some part of our bodies, or that it's not going through your body the way it's supposed to. And he believes that if you fix this problem, you can bring the person back to health. So if the person was sick, the problem was this fluid, this invisible natural force that we all have it, and then if it's something wrong with that, we become sick. This is, basically what Mesmer believed, and Mesmer did thousands of cures back then, thousands of them. His house used to be with people outside of his house the whole time, and he used to do for free for those that could not pay him. But he left Germany and he went to France. And then when he went to France, that's how he became so famous. It was like, there is a story of him that he cured a girl that was blind. She was born blind. He did so many wonderful healings that, it's impossible for us in 45 minutes to name it. But there were also a few people that don't believe in him, that he think that everything was a trick, that it was not possible. So if you read about him, especially on the internet, you're going to hear some biography that it really talks about how a great man he was, and some biography not so good. But the most important thing is that he did teach, and he left a few disciples and people that learned from him how to magnetize and how to manipulate and how to distribute this fluid. And let's talk about this a little bit. I brought a book. I chose one that we can talk about it. And this book, it's called Animal Magnetism and Sonambulism. And it's from this author here. And look at the date. It was written in 1857. This is exactly when the Spirit's books was coming. And he mentioned in this book that around the year of 1852 to 1854, there were so many books that was written in this subject, more than anything else in the world. This is how powerful magnetism was back there in the time. There were so many books, and what they did on this book, what he talks about, is his experience as a magnetizer, what he saw when he was doing magnetism, and what he saw when other people was doing magnetism. And I want you to pay attention to this word over here, sonambulism. Does anybody knows what sonambulism is? It's not sleepwalking. Yes, this is what we think it is, right? Sleepwalk. But before, on the 18th century, if you mention the word sonambulism to anybody, it would have a completely different meaning. Completely different meaning. So back then, I can tell that Cynthia was a sonambulist. I could tell. Because what happened was, right after Mesmer, and we're talking about Pissiguit, which is a French magnetizer, he realized that you can put a person in trance. If you magnetize that person, some people, not everybody, but some people could become a sonambulism. Now, what did this mean? It means that if the person, this is how everything came about. If the person was sick and the person get magnetized, so what are we talking about? How did the person get magnetized? The person will sit down in front of the magnetizer or lay down, and the magnetizer will lay his hand all over his body from the head to the feet for a while. And then you're thinking 15, 20, 25 minutes, whatever there is, that person will then send some signal to the magnetizer that he can actually be a somnambulist. What are the signals? Sometimes shaking in their body. Sometimes the lids of the eyes will go boom, moving really, 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 really fast. The people or the person had the heart going really, really fast also. And they continue to do it. And then that person goes to a state that it's called the magnetic sleep. It's not a natural sleep. The sleep was provoked by the magnetizing through the fluid. Don't ever forget the fluid that we talked about at the beginning. This is only possible because of this electricity, because of this fluid that we all have it. And then the person will sleep, magnetic sleep, different than regular sleep, and then the person will talk to the magnetizer. And then wonderful things happen. Wonderful thing happens in that. Okay, so let's go and talk about that a little bit. He said, I got this paragraph from this book that I just mentioned. He say, I purpose also to prove that we can, on meeting with the subject in who how do you pronounce it? Clairvoyance has attained to a high degree of perfection, compel him to chase an illness through all its stage, to behold what is passing inside the body, indicate the organs which are attached, and prescribe the most effectual remedy. So the person was asleep, magnetic sleep, not natural sleep, okay? The person is in trance, okay? And then all of a sudden, that person could tell the magnetizer what was wrong with her or with him. So she would tell the magnetizer, listen, my problem is in the liver. The liver is not doing this, it's not doing that. You magnetize me on the liver, or they can also prescribe medicine. This is all with the person in trance. The person in trance. Okay, now, this was the first experience. So the second thing that Pisagui did was this. Okay, if she can tell that if it's a disease on her body, can she tell if there is a disease in somebody else? So what they did was they start to bring to the somnambulism that was in trance a person that was sick. And they would hold her hand or his hand for a while, and then the somnambulism would tell him, the disease, it's right there, what you need to do is this, 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 and that. 100% accuracy. 100% accuracy. How did we lose all that? How? What happened? What happened?
Somebody was against it.
Huh?
Pharmaceutical company.
Someone did it away against it.
Well, a lot of things. What happened was, imagine that. So every magnetizer now has his own somnambulism. So they will find somebody that can actually go in trance, and then they open up a business, and then you walk in, and they said, you're here to be magnetized, and then you do all this, and you get killed. What happened to the doctors? Right? So they put up a law, the doctors, that they were the only one who were allowed to do this type of healing. So we are the physicians are the ones who can magnetize. Nobody else can. This is what they did. And then, of course, You have to have a lot of concentration, a lot of will, a lot of things to go ahead and magnetize a person for 30, 35 minutes, 40, 45 minutes. Isn't it much easier to go ahead and subscribe something and say, have a nice day? Right? It's so much easier. So this is what happens. But then there was a other thing that happened also. The name of the guy is James Brain, the father of hypnosis. Because when he saw what magnetism was doing, he saw a demonstration of that, and he realized that he wanted to study a little bit more of this. And then he said, you know what? There's no such a thing as a fluid, electricity. It's all suggestion. You suggested that to a person. If the person can be suggested, then the same thing happens. There's no such a thing as fluid. This is how hypnotism was born. Hypnosis was born like that. And it was a problem for magnetism. And then magnetism starts to fight with hypnotism to prove that the fluid exists. And hypnotism says, no, it doesn't exist. It's always suggestion. And who won that fight? Hypnosis. Yes, they did. They did. Even though right before James Braid said himself that he did not get the same trance that magnetism did through hypnotism. He said that. But I guess it was a little bit too late. And what is hypnosis doing today to heal people? Almost nothing, only if you have a smoking problem. But you don't see hypnosis today doing what magnetism used to do it. It's completely different. They took the concept and brought it to a completely different path.
They had to homogenize it because of the medical field. They won't let anybody do anything.
Exactly. That too. They won't let, because that's free. One of the things that this guy says in this book is, like, think about it, that if you're sick, your mother, your father, your brother, your neighbor can help you. Think about a world like that. How wonderful would it be for us, but not so good for the medical field. Even though he told that, even in the same books he said, listen, I'm not saying that medicine and science is not necessary. It is necessary. I'm not saying that magnetism will cure everything. It was a hand to science. It was a tool to science. Not to eliminate science, but to add to science. This is what they wanted. But science saw this a completely different way. And another thing that it happens, you guys will be amazed if you read about it, is that before the anesthesia, people went through surgery without a pain with magnetism. When I'm talking about heart surgery, I'm talking about very difficult surgery. Hypnosis does that a little bit today, a little bit. If you're a dentist, for an example, some dentists does use hypnosis, but it's not the same deep trance as we see it in magnetism. Okay, I'm not saying that suggestion doesn't happen, that does not exist. Suggestion also exists, and it can put you in a trance, but it's not as deep as this type of trance that we used to have back then. Okay? And this here is a person. Imagine a person that, oh, another thing, when they woke up, when the magnetism brought them back, the magnetizer brought them back from the trance, they couldn't remember a thing. Nothing. Zero. Zero. And the reason why there were so many books that was written about this is because this was a huge success back then. Huge success. Okay? And imagine that you're out of your body, because this is how Kardec explained the phenomenon. Kardec was a magnetizer for 30 years. And he does explain on the Spirit's book, Magnetism, he does explain. There is a chapter, if you want to read, about sonambulism. Most of the Spiritists doesn't understand what he's talking about on that. Because what's sleepwalking? What is he talking about? After you learn what sonambulism is, and you go back to the book and read again, then you say, oh, this is what happens.
Somnambulism is merely the state between being awake
Mm-hmm.
and being asleep. That's all it is. You are at that point, you are very open to all kinds of suggestions.
Well, this is what it is right now. Back then, this is what I was trying to explain. Back then, it was a deep trance, and
Yeah, it's a trance-like state.
but
that you get into.
induced by the fluid. Induced, not suggestion. Induced, yes.
By the touch.
Yes, yes,
soothing.
yes, for this fluid. Little bit different than hypnosis, because hypnosis is
No, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that is what the somnambulistic state is. It is a trance-like state of being between
Yes.
being awake and being asleep.
yes.
How it's induced is a whole different story.
It's induced. And then the thing about that is the person can actually talk to you without remember, but they don't, according to Allan Kardec, and this is Kardec explaining this on the Spirit's book, according to Allan Kardec, when you give the person the amount of fluid that they need to become a sonambulism, you help the person to come out of the body. So that's why when a person's out of the body, the clairvoyance, it is out, I forgot how you mentioned. Clairvoyance, thank you, clairvoyance, occurs right there. So the person, it's funny because what they used to do is they used to get and close the sonambulism eyes and give them a book, and they still could read it. A book. So many experience on this alone, reading a book with your eyes closed. Why? Because they were not reading with these eyes. They were reading with what? With the spirit eyes. Do we have eyes as a spirit? Yes, we do. So, and also they could tell, some of them could tell the future, could tell what's going to happen. Some of them could tell, unfortunately, there's no way that the person's going to survive this illness. At that day, he will die, and that would happen. You know, all kinds of wonderful things. Yes.
You guys practice that here?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And okay, let's go. The same author. It says that in our days, it can be no longer doubt that it's possible for a person in a state of somnambulism to give an exact description of the symptoms of a disease. In our days, it can be no longer doubted. This was huge, guys, back then.
Who said this?
This was this guy here. He wrote his book, Adolf Theater. He wrote this book in 1857. Okay, I put it here. So this book, it's online. Anybody can read it. Okay, it's on Google Books. Go ahead and research. And he talks about the phenomenon of somnambulism. Okay, so Shu proved that mesmerism must ever, let me read it for you. Shu proved that mesmerism must ever be, when properly and well applied, a sovereign remedy in every illness. Now look at this. What are we going to talk about? Property.
We went from magnetism to mesmerism?
They use the both. They use magnetism and mesmerism. It means the same thing.
Oh.
When we translate it to English, this book is in London. The magnetizers from London used to call themselves mesmerism. It's the same thing.
Because Mesmer wasn't practicing hypnosis when he's been verged away and moved to this. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
If he'd moved into
Mesmer is considered the father of hypnosis. But it was because of the complete, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many of these guys, misunderstood that Mesmer was not working with suggestion. Mesmer never said a word. Mesmer used to work with equipments, and Mesmer was the biggest of all on to prove the existence of fluid, of this electricity. Okay?
Is this chi? Are we talking chi energy? What are we talking about?
Yeah, kind of like you can call chi. You can call chi. Yeah, you can call chi. It's something that we have, and we can give it to each other in exchange. We can call chi. So there's a few ways to talk about this. Now, this is important when properly and well applied. So it doesn't mean that in order for you to magnetize a person, you actually need to know what you're doing. You actually need to know the basics of the science, and you actually need to know what they would do it and how they did it and what were the techniques that they use it, okay? And it needs in order to work, it needs to be well and properly applied. That's the biggest problem Mesmer had, because people will go to watch when Mesmer will demonstrate it, because Mesmer could not magnetize one person at a time because he had like 250 people. So he had to come up with a system that he actually did to help. And people used to work on circles, and they have a rod there that people will touch, that he will magnetize it before. He had to come up with something to help so many people at once, because he could not do it. But when he did it, when Mesmer did it, people wanted to get the same results as he did it without the effort that it needs to be done. So people, let's say for example, Mesmer was moving his hands in front of somebody. So a person will go there and he will try to do the same thing, and then he say, you know what, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. There is no such a thing as fluid, or it's nothing like that. So it got to a point that he was so tired that he only demonstrated to his disciples, the ones that really wanted to learn, because people were trying to copy movements from Mesmer. And every movement that you do in magnetism, it has a meaning to it. It has a reason to it. And if you don't know the reason, if you don't know how, and we're going to talk about some of the attributes that you need to have in order to do that, and then it didn't work. It just didn't work. So it's not the movements. So if you look at it, and if you go inside of the passage chambers, and you see Cynthia or other magnetizers doing a movement, and then you go say, you know what, I'm going to do the same movement, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work, because it's not about the movement. It's about what are you trying to accomplish with that movement. And only the magnetizing knows what he was trying to do it. And it's also a state of presence. It's also a state of love. We're going to talk about this a little bit. There's a lot of things involved that when you first look at it and you say, oh, it's just people moving air around. No, it's not. It's so much more than this. So this Let's go for. I just got a few paragraphs from this book so we can talk about it. But every day, thousands of new facts and proofs of the truth of this divine science are collected by thousands. Thousands. And by thousands is once Moses and opponents are being converted to its belief. So a lot of people that it was against magnetism back then, it got to a point that they could not be against it anymore because it was so many facts and so many proofs that it was impossible not to see there was something out there. And guys, they used to do a lot of public experiences, like showing to the public what a sonambulism could do. You know? Like they used to hide objects on different rooms, cover the sonambulism eyes, and then ask them, what is this object on that? And they would say, it's this. The color is this. To us, as a spiritism, we don't see a big deal, right? We can tell, we know that you can move from your body and walking around. It's called, Scott talk about this last, astral projection. We know that it's impossible, that it's possible, but what we don't know as a spiritist, and most of people don't know, is that through sonambulism, this is so much easier to accomplish. That when you put somebody in trance and that person becomes a sonambulism, it's a whole different process. And that's what we are working on it. We are trying to bring that science back. A few centers are doing this. Not every center. Only a few centers. We're trying to bring this because this is pretty interesting, isn't it? And this is not knowledge from Spiritism. This is before Spiritism. And when you guys read about it, you guys are going to be like, oh, you know how many cases of epilepsies this guy's cured? All of them? All. There was no such a thing as an epilepsy back then. If you go to a magnetizer, you will be cured. They love it. Every single disease that the science could not deal with them, bring it to a magnetizer, they would deal with that. And epilepsy was one of them. You see thousands of reports. Thousands. You see commissions, doctors that will go see those magnetizer work. And then we live in a world today that we don't even know the science anymore. It's sad. And it's our job, if you're interested, it's our job to bring this back. It is. We own this to the world. Because if this can help anybody, we need to bring it back. We need to study. We need to research. We need to find out. Yes?
How far does it go in terms of identification and healing? You're talking about physical. What about mental?
That too.
Emotional, spiritual, and physical. So there's many other properties that can be healed here.
Yes.
Talk about that for a second?
Yes. I mean, I'm not going to talk about this here because I'm going to be very honest with you, Scott. I'm going to be very honest with you. What we're trying here in our center is the baby steps of this guy did it. We're trying to figure it out. We're not there yet. We're only trying to figure it out. But we don't do 10% of what they did it back then. You read the books, you get embarrassed. You say, man, we're not doing literally 10% of what they done. So we here at Center, we're trying to figure it out. Yes, are we trying? Do we have some somnambulism in the house? Yes, we do. They're trying to get, yes, we do, but with the accuracies that they have back there, no. There is something that we're missing. I think I know what it is. And I'm going to bring it up at the end. But we live in a world today that mentally exhaustion exists in every single one of us. We are wasting energy all over the place. People back then were so much more connected to nature that we are today. There is so much connection between them that we are today. Today we fight for no reason. You know, traffic is a problem for us. You know, we lose our calmness and we lose everything. We lose our tolerance for such small things. We get angry so easily. The world became so agitated, and guess what? We are agitated too. So we don't have time to connect with the invisible. This fluid is invisible. It's not something that you can, okay, I wanted you, come over here, let me touch you. No. You're going to have to get in connection with this. And you'll be surprised on this book from 1857 that they use the word meditation. They use that. So we are off right now. We're so connected to materialism today. We are so connected with exterior things today that it's difficult for us to connect with things that really matters. And instead of us take the step down and say, let me think about it, let me redo my life, rethink my life, the way that I want to live. No, what do? We follow materialism. We follow what everybody's doing. And what they're doing is clearly not working. It's not working. Materialism is a failure. It's not working. Look at the psychiatric hospitals. Open one after the other, depression, anxiety. Oh, we thought that if we could have a nice car, if we have a nice life, we could have this, I'll be happy. And people that have nice car, nice lives, nice houses, still not happy. They're not. Because what they're selling to us, what materialism is selling to us, is fake. It's fake. And we have to be careful to see if we're buying this style, if we're buying what they're telling us to do it. Because lots of our frustration comes from that. A lot of our frustration comes to live our lives in a society the way the society thinks it's okay to be. And then we become depressed and then the ones that have out there are also depressed. And hold on. It's time to wake up. It's time to bring this type of knowledge back to today. Okay? Man can, through his will and the power of that faculty by which he moves and breathes, often exercise upon his fellow creature a certain indescribable influence. This is the principle which has received the name of animal magnetism. It's the influence that we can have on each other. And that is not only through disease, we can work that, we can talk about this in our daily lives. If somebody has a very strong will, you can tell in a relationship that somebody is very dominant and the other person is weak. You can tell her that sometimes in abusive relationships, how come that person doesn't leave? It's because of magnetism. It's because the other person has an influence over that person. And the influence is not only mentally, the influence is also through the fluid that is dominant to that person. So you don't understand why, what happened, they don't leave. They get abused, and then it takes a while because it was completely, that person was completely under the influence of the other. Same thing, when you go and you look at a person you meet for the first time, and then you feel so good around that person. It's called sympathy. We're all connected, right? We're all connected. But at the same time, you meet a person that you don't like it for some reason. You can't even explain why you don't like that person. It's all because we are all connected and we are exchanging this fluid all the time. I'm talking to you guys and we're doing this right now. You go to a place, you meet somebody, you're feeling sick, all of a sudden you just talk to a person, just talk. And you feel better. And sometimes that person will say, oh, now I feel sick, and they go, if they don't know how to deal with this energy. They don't know how to deal with magnetism. So it's like we all know this by theory. We all know, oh, it's so beautiful, we're all connected. Yes, we are. Oh, it's so beautiful that we all energy. Yes, we are. But how do we apply this in our daily lives? How do we apply this knowledge on our daily lives? Right? The connections that we have with each other. There's a lot of people that have huge problems, family problems, all has to do with magnetism. All has to do with energy. All has to do with not knowing how to deal with the other person's fluid. It's a science. And we need to pay attention to this, because do you think science is interested on this? Not really. There's no money involved, guys. So we are the ones that needs to do this, that needs to change our lives, that needs to transform our lives and live differently than everybody else. And then when somebody comes in and say, wow, Stephen, you're a nice guy. What is that you do, that you believe, that you live, that you experience? That won't happen if you live your life exactly the way that everybody else does live it. And you believe in energy, so what? And you believe in magnetism, so what? And you believe in life after that, so what? Do you believe or you live this? That's a huge difference. Okay. This is what I wanted to talk to you about it. The first condition necessary for magnetism is a strong will. This is the first. It's a strong will. Now, this little word will here was so used back then, and today nobody uses it anymore. If I ask you guys, what is will? What do you tell me?
You have your will and testament, and then otherwise you have your will, your desires,
your desire. What else? Isn't it a little bit stronger than desire? Because I can desire to eat ice cream, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. What is the will?
Don't use the willpower
Mm-hmm.
Determination.
Determination. What else? What do you get? Huh? Intention. Devotion. What is will? You see? Now, it's the first condition. Now, we're talking about here desire, we're talking about commitment. What did you say it was?
Dedication.
Dedication.
Strong dedication.
Okay? You have all this. But do you use it? Okay? So, the strong will, it has a lot to do with the feeling. So if you're going to magnetize someone, and if you want to influence someone, if you want to actually get a person to be a somnambulism, you got to have that state right now. Strong will. The second is the confidence which he who mesmerized has in his own power. So you have to have the confidence that say, I can do this. How is our confidence today in anything in our lives? Because this is something we need to exercise. I can do this. I can make a difference. How many of us live today in our society believing, okay, now, and have the confidence that you can make a difference in this world? If not, we need to start doing that. We need to. We can make a difference in our lives. Yes, we can. We can make a difference in other people's lives. How? Energetically talking. How would that? Do we need to talk? If you see a person that is confident, does she have to tell you? No. You see it right there. How? To the fluid that she emanates to you. And you see a person that has a confidence that they can do something, that they can make a difference in the world. They walk in this room, you're going to look at that person, you're going to say, wow, I like that person, I just don't know why. I just don't know why. So that's why there is no such a thing as being the fake. It doesn't work. How many people they think that they have confidence? The people that look at themselves at the mirror all the time, that go to the gym, that do, that many things. They think they have confidence, but we're talking about a different type of confidence here. Because it has a confidence on your own power to do good in life. And you keep saying, oh God, please help Cynthia. Yes, God can help Cynthia, but you can do it also. God may use you as his hand to help Cynthia. But because we don't believe in our own powers, we don't believe in everything that we can do, we sit and we watch. We sit and we watch. So we got to have, that's the second one. And the third one, it's benevolences, or the anxious desire to do good. Anxious desire to do good. It's not a little desire to do good. It's big.
It's your drive.
It's what needs to drive you. Do you see now, Scott, why we don't get the same results? Do you see now? Because we're still doing what the other people tried to do when Mesmer was here, copying movements. We still didn't understand. Here, it's not clear to us that when we are giving a passes, when we're working with magnetism, it's so much bigger than what we think it is. Sometimes you go to apply passes on a chamber. Where is your strong will? Where is your confidence? And where is your benevolence? Benevolence is not, I want to do good. It's feel. It's a feeling that you wanted to do good. It's not here, it's here. And when you do this, immediately your vibration highs. So if you're going to apply a price and your vibration is not up there, you're not going to get the results you wanted. You're not. You simply won't get it. If you don't have that, if you don't have the third, that's what he says here. One may operate with any one of these three qualities. You may operate it. You're going to need at least one. Today and our days, people are operating with none of the conditions that you need. None. Because our mind is too crazy. We're so into exterior things. We're not connected to ourselves. We're not connected to a fruity. We're not connected to that person. Okay? But that the action of the mesmerism may be at once energetic and salutary, the three conditions should unite in the same person. Now you think, oh, this sounds like Spiritism, right? It's not. It's not. It's not. Right? So the people that used to do this, they used to do that. Years ago, they were connected with this type of quality. They knew in order to succeed, they need that. Okay? And then, the more this magnetic agent or fluid abound within us, the more we possess of life, strength, health, and intelligence. Whereas if we be deprived of only a portion of it, we become weak, sick, and the mind itself lessens with our energy. So that's what the beliefs was over there. So you need that fluid, you need that energy. Now, how do you waste this energy? Constantly to thoughts that goes around, to preoccupation, to worry about the future. You keep losing that, wasting that. Okay? I have to go a little bit. And this is pay a lot of attention to this, and let's say man can, therefore, as we say in the beginning, dispose within certain limits of the vital fluids. Now, what they believed back then is, and it's true, is not everybody has the same amount of vital fluid. It depends. And some people have a lot, and some people doesn't have as much. Okay? This is true. We can see this today. But with certain limits of the vital two, and direct and distribute is as his please in the different part of the human system. Okay? But look at the condition. It's wonderful. Look at the condition. When he is in full enjoyment of all his moral faculties. Moral faculty. Moral. Moral faculties. Last school. I can say, what do we do now? We wanted to cure people, we want to heal people, we wanted to work as magnetizing, but then we don't work on ourselves. Will we get the same results? No.
No secret sauce.
Mm-hmm. No secret. So wherever we run from, we go back to the same thing, which is moral. Morals. And that word doesn't mean much those days that it used to mean back then. Have morals back then, it meant a lot. People were proud of their morals. And today, because of all the distraction of this world, we don't even pay attention to that little thing that is so important to us. And we think that we can do whatever we want because Cynthia's not seeing. If I'm here at Central, I'm one person, but if I'm home, I'm a completely different person. If I'm in a traffic, I'm a completely different person. If I'm at work, I'm a completely different person. Well, you're fooling yourself. Only yourself. Because all your happiness, everything that you're wishing, everything that you want, it's based on the moral faculties. And yes, we need them. We need them very much. We need a little bit more tolerance. We need patience. We need love. We need all the good things that we deserve. But the only problem is that it's not going to come to us for free. We are the ones that needs to go get it. So if I wanted to be a good magnetizer and if I wanted to help people, if I wanted to really help, I need to transform myself and acquire the virtues that sometimes I don't even need to lay my hands on you. The presence of the Christ, remember? The presence of Him was so healthy to thousands of people because He had the moral faculties. So I invited everybody tonight to believe that they can, that you can make a difference in this world. Okay? Thank you.